Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the InnerViews. England, Colombia, round of 16 clash. England were able to beat Colombia on penalty kicks, but what took them so long? How did Colombia push them to the edge without James Rodriguez, and what were the issues that England encountered? Don't worry, here at the InnerViews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the InnerViews, we're going to break down England against Colombia. So England, Colombia, final round of 16 game. England knocked Colombia out of the World Cup through penalty kicks. How did they do it? What went right? What went wrong? How did Colombia hold on for so long without James Rodriguez? When we break it down, we got England 3-5-2, Sterling and Kane up front, Young and Trippier as the wingbacks. In midfield, we got Henderson, we got Ali, we got Lingard. We look at Colombia, forced into a tactical tweak, 4-4-2 diamond. You have Cuadrado and Falcao up front, Quintero just in behind them. You have Lerma and Sanchez ahead of Barrios as the shuttlers. When we break this down, it's obviously we have to look at how Colombia tried to approach the game. Colombia, starting from the front, you see Falcao and Cuadrado pressing. They're pressing, they're trying to force the center backs into mistakes. A lot of what we saw was Cuadrado harrying Maguire. They didn't really want Stones on the ball, but if they were able to break in, it wasn't really a bad idea because those players didn't have anyone to play the ball into. When we look at what Colombia did well, Quintero sitting on Henderson. When the wingbacks pushed forward, you had Arias and Mojica step to them. The midfield battle was obviously settled. It was Lingard against Lerma. It was Sanchez against Ali. And then in the back, what you saw, what Kane and Sterling were trying to do. They've been doing this throughout the tournament, dropping off to link play, trying to combine with one another, but they were unable to do that. Man marking jobs, center backs following forwards, and if Mina or Davinson Sanchez didn't go, there was always Barrios who sat deeper ahead of them and would step in as well. They were unable to get the ball in those zones, and what we often saw was Kane and Sterling dropping off deeper. There was one point where they were both beyond the halfway line, and that was a big problem for England because they couldn't get supply into their strikers. They couldn't get service into Kane around the box, and that is obviously not what you want if you're Gareth Southgate. How did England really counteract this? Well, you look at how the midfield has operated throughout this tournament. Lingard, Ali charging into channels, charging into the half spaces. That is what has been successful for England. We saw that here in two cases in the first half. One is Ali. We'll look at him first, often playing a bit higher, trying to break in behind. In this move, he moves out to the left, which drags out a defender. Sterling charges into that space. You see Mina track him. He is able to bamboozle Mina, and he wins a free kick due to a handball. That is how they were really getting space and finding openings. Another play, we saw Lingard charge into the right channel. It was a Maguire hoofed ball in there. You saw Lerma follow him. What happens here is Trippier is a bit adventurous. He makes the overlapping run. He's played in. He plays across to the far post. Kane nods his effort inches over the net. But that's how England were really breaking forward. They didn't really create any more chances besides that, and that was down to the way Colombia had approached the game. However, for Colombia, the way that they approached the game obviously robbed them of creating chances, and the fact that James Rodriguez wasn't there. They haven't really played well in this tournament, apart from one half where James dominated the game with Quintero and Cuadrado. He is so pivotal to what they do. We saw that here. Obviously, with Lerma in midfield, what happens now is that they don't really have an attacking threat down the left, which with James there, he often drifts off the left anyway, so it's not a big deal. But Mojica was unable to get crosses into the box, and down the right, Arias was getting forward, but it wasn't enough, and that was obviously a big issue because Cuadrado wasn't there. What we see from Cuadrado and Arias a lot is that Arias pushes forward, Cuadrado drops into deeper positions, crosses are able to be played into the box. That wasn't the case here, and the problem was that Quintero wasn't getting the ball in these higher spaces when England dropped off into like their 3-5 into their 5-3-2, and he was often, it took him half hour to drop deeper, to link play from side to side, to push Colombia forward. The other issue was Falcao was often chasing balls or getting the ball with his back to goal against 3 defenders. Cuadrado was often distances away, yards away from him, no real link-up play, often a bit deeper, moving out to the flanks, and Colombia's attack was just a bit too disjointed. In the second half, they tried to change that. They pushed Quintero higher. They wanted Quintero closer to Falcao, possibly to play balls into him to get things going from a creative aspect, and it made sense because then you could still have Cuadrado on Henderson, and if they break on the counterattack, Cuadrado's a great dribbler and he could carry the ball forward, opposed to solely relying on Quintero to play balls over the top or in behind the defense. However, Harry Kane's goal, the penalty shot, changed the way they had to approach the game. They instantly took off Lerma, they brought on Baca, and now they move to a 3-5-2. Quintero moves into midfield. Cuadrado moves out into right wing back. You saw Arias move into a center back position. But now how this benefited Colombia was the fact that they had a combination between Baca and Falcao. The problem was, for a 20-minute spell, a lot of fouls, a lot of issues, stop and start play, and that really took the tempo out of the game and prevented Colombia from ever getting a foothold on it. During that time, England had their chances. You had the Trippier cross to the far post for Ali, nods over the net. The problem with the wingbacks, obviously, is simply like in the first half when the fullbacks were pushing forward and you could break into space behind them because they were pressing. Here, with the center backs pushing forward, Colombia were always susceptible to the counterattack. Sterling led one from his own half, from his own zone in the second half, played the ball into Lingard free on goal. However, he wasn't able to get his shot off. Through that time, we saw changes. We saw Dyer come on for Dele Alli. We saw Muriel come on, and he replaced Sanchez he replaced Quintero, so that was pivotal. And what happened as well is that we saw Vardy come on for Sterling, and what changed the game was the fact that now, when they moved to that 3-5-2, obviously, and they pushed men forward, they were getting crosses into the box. We see Cuadrado getting onto the ball, delivering crosses into the box. We saw a combination play between Baca and Falcao that led to a Falcao shot, obviously going right at Pickford. And when Dyer just came on, we saw Walker concede the ball, which led to a 3v2 break that Cuadrado fired over the net. The goal was a bit fortuitous. Uribe's shot came out of nothing that forced Pickford to push the ball out for a corner. Mina with his 3rd goal of the tournament. Again, he scored all from headers in the box. Poland, Senegal, now England, we go to extra time. The goal changed things because obviously now they move back to a 4-4-2. Arias moves out to fullback. We saw Mojica move back to fullback. Muriel moves out to the left. You have Uribe who came on as well, like I mentioned before, in midfield. And now the way they were getting at England was they were pushing the fullbacks forward. They had Muriel tucking in centrally, Cuadrado dropping in deeper, crosses into the box from Cuadrado, cross into the box from Mojica. Their best chance came across from the right. Falcao breaks in, nods his effort wide. There were a few near post crosses to Baca as well, but that was how Colombia were breaking forward. And when they didn't have the ball, they dropped off into 2 banks of 4. For England, they didn't change their system. Rashford eventually came on. Danny Rose came on. Rose had a chance that Henderson poked into him in half space. When he overlapped, he fired a shot wide. The problem with England was that now they had Kane dropping a bit deeper, trying to play passes as the creative fulcrum. It wasn't working. Vardy trying to break him behind. That wasn't successful as well. However, they were able to win the game on penalty kicks. Great penalty shots taken. Pickford makes big saves. When we break this down, England didn't play that well, and that's the biggest worry with the system. They haven't played well throughout the tournament. And when we look at Colombia here, they changed their system 3 times. 4-4-2 diamond, stopped play into Sterling and into Kane. Spain, pressed from the front, stopped Henderson from dictating the tempo. They moved to a 3-5-2. They got crosses into the box. They got width. They pushed men forward, got the equalizer. Moved to a 4-4-2, pushed the fullbacks forward, got more service for Baka and Falcao. Whereas England, after they scored that goal, they were really unable to they didn't get any shots on target, and they struggle to really break forward, and that will be an issue going forward when they're gonna have to break down a very defensive, resilient Swedish side. But let me know what you guys think. Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.